Okay, good evening, guys. So I am today responding to Anna's Q&A video. As you saw, I did a Q&A video and she responded to that, and I'm just going to respond to hers. I'm not recording. I usually record on my phone, but I'm actually recording on laptop now with webcam. So it's not the best picture in the world, but I don't mind the light balance. Like, it's not too bad, and it's kind of more comfortable doing it this way as well. I might try and use my handheld camera next time, but we'll see how we go. And how this looks when it's finished. So Anna had 10 questions and she answered those for me in the last video. I'm going to start with the last question that she answered. About who was her hero. So I knew some of the stuff about your dad, Anna, and we spoke about it briefly before. I don't want to go into too much detail in this video because obviously it's quite personal and it was kind of brave of you to speak about on camera. But I fully understand where you're coming from, and there's someone in my family that I feel very similar about that would be the most crushing loss when it happens, I guess. So that's definitely something that I want to speak to you more about when and if you want to in private. So I'm going to leave that where that is, but I thought it was a very sweet story and a sweet memory of your dad, and I'm going to leave that there, I think. Yeah. And then we'll just go through the other questions. So one food for the rest of your life. So you were trying to work out if I meant like meal or I didn't mean meal as in a dish, like food, rather than a course, which is I guess what we call them. But I disagree with dessert anyway. The older I get, the more I prefer savoury food, and I would just love to have different starters forever because you can get so many different things and they come in like bite-sized chunks. So you can have loads of different starters, kind of like a buffet. I love a good buffet, I guess. Kind of like that sort of thing. But the potato pancakes, so I had some of those when I was in Krakow. I've never had poppy seed cake, but there are literally loads of shops now in London where I can get both of these things. But I'm not going to. I'm going to wait until I make it to Toronto, and you're going to make them for me. Because I think that'll be, a nicer, authentic experience than buying them from a shop around here. But as I say, there are lots of places to buy them around here because we have a big Polish population now, especially in the area that I live, which is good because actually we get so much diversity in terms of food and fashion and other stuff. It's actually really good. Yeah, but I'm gonna wait until you make me potato pancakes, if that's okay. Um, yeah, and then I was asking if you could hire somebody to do something for you, and you said right now, probably you would need someone like a babysitter or a nanny, someone to look after the children while you go out and do some social events and stuff. And I kind of, when I posed the question, I kind of thought that would be the answer, but it's always interesting to see what people would actually say. And I found it funny that you mentioned unlimited funds because I always think about if I had the money, what would I do? Um, and what would I think is most important? Um, I've written some notes here that I actually cannot read. Um, no idea, but I would absolutely hire a driver. I'm not lazy, but I want to drive because there's almost nowhere to park in London anyway. Um, uh, and most I can get around with transport, but it would be nice to have a driver. Rather than me learning. I don't got no problem learning. It's just the tax and stuff that we pay to park almost nowhere, and then the expense that it does cost when you find somewhere to park. So no. I have wrote here that I love something as well, but I honestly can't read what I wrote. So maybe we'll come back to that if I can somehow work that out or think of what I wrote down, because it's literally 5 minutes ago, so I don't know. Anyway, so the karaoke question. I am hoping, Anna, when I land in Canada one day, that you have written me a song, girl. Because if you're doing it for your children, I want a song as well. I'm just saying. I don't care what the lyrics are. It's just got to be about my grand old entrance. um, Pop punk on karaoke is cool. I like a bit of pop punk. I don't really do karaoke, but I mean, I have done it a couple of times with work. And I guess I kind of prefer like show tunes and stuff because I feel everyone tends to get involved with those, and they're kind of more fun, um, and more community based, and a lot of people get involved with them. And I think I think that's part of the fun of karaoke, is everyone kind of having a laugh together. Um, but yeah, maybe we'll get you singing some pop punk when I come over, and maybe I'll join in, maybe I won't. It's unlikely, but we'll see. Um, yeah. So you don't enjoy watching sports? um, when I read this question out loud, as I sent it to you, I thought like I would instantly go to a board game because I'm a very board gamey person. I do play some video games, but I'm definitely more of a board gamey video game person than I am a sports person. However, I do agree with you that live sport is better than watching sport on TV. There's such a difference. It's part of the atmosphere, I think, that it heightens the experience. Um, and I'm a big tennis fan, so I'm actually wearing right now. This is you can't see it very well. This is a Roland Garros logo, which is the French Open. So I got this in France when I was in my teen years, and I still wear the same size. So I don't know what that says about me over the years, how much I weighed when I was a teenager or whatever. But yeah, so I'm a big tennis fan, and I love watching it on TV. But when I went to Wimbledon, um, I went in what they call Middle Monday, which is the second Monday of the tournament, which is where everybody left in the draw plays on the same day. It was incredible, and it's just such a different experience being there with all the fans, and the players kind of roam around Wimbledon as well, because there's no real separation walls or anything. So when they finish their matches, they leave through the crowd. You get to meet them, sign photographs, and it's actually really lovely. Like, it's so different to what it looks like on TV. It's such a warm atmosphere, and everything feels very inclusive, which is great. Um, but I'm definitely more of a board game person, like I said. Um, But since you like New York, and I agree that New Yorkers are very friendly, and one of my goals in future is to come to New York and watch the US Open. So if I do that, you should come across, and we'll do the US Open, and then I'll come to the baseball, and we'll just watch two lots of sport, and we'll have a great time. Because the atmosphere is always amazing, and the US Open do night sessions for the tennis, and the atmosphere in there, even on TV, is electric. Like, it's the kind of electricity that you don't get normally coming through TV, but the fans are just so into it, which I think is what makes sports so much better. And American fans are much better at building an atmosphere than most others. The British aren't bad. I think the British and Americans are two of the best in the world at building buzz around sports and big events. So, um, and that's kind of one of the reasons, like, I don't watch a lot of other sports, but I'm very patriotic when it comes to things like World Cups, Olympics, Athletic World Championships, stuff like that. Very patriotic and really get into it because I like supporting the country. But as individual sports, tennis really is the only one. And I've watched professional wrestling, but that doesn't really count, I don't think. Um, Board games, Clue is, you called it Clue, I call it Cluedo, absolutely the best. I've loved it since I was a child, and I played the mobile version. I have two different board game versions. I have an old, like, original wooden style one, and I have the new updated one, where they've changed some of the characters and added some characters as well, because hashtag diversity in board games. Um, Pokemon Go, yes, I play Pokemon Go. I've played it since it first came out. I play Pokemon in general. I have so many apps on my phone to do with Pokemon, and I've collected all the games so far up until the ones on the Switch, and I'm looking forward to the next one, which comes out next month. Loved Pokemon forever. I'm a big geek. I think we have that in common, actually. Um, yeah, so I do love Pokemon Go, and it's great that your girls are getting into it, because I feel like Pokemon's one of those things, when you get in, it's really hard to get out, but that's not a bad thing. And it's really good because people want to walk with it, and kind of you get some more exercise in. and it measures your steps now as well. So it's kind of a fun thing to use as an exercise tool. Um, yeah. You were talking about one thing that you could do for a day, and you said like sleep. I totally hear that. I don't have 3 children, and I'm tired all the time as well. And I often sleep well past midday when I'm on a day off, and just enjoy that moment of nothing. But then I kind of feel like I don't have a lot of the day left. Um, but still, I love sleep and I love my bed. It's one of my favourite places in the whole world. So totally get you on that. Um, I loved your story about once being an ice cream seller. I thought it was so cute. Like it just reminded me, the phrase like the innocence of children and just the pure way that children think. It just seems like that to me. A little girl really wanting to sell ice cream because that's what being happy means to her. And I just thought that's such a really cute, innocent child thing. Some of that innocence I wish like we kept as we got older. Um, but then you said that obviously you've done quite a few things, um, including working at a petting zoo and working with animals and doing that kind of thing. And actually, we have this in common as well. So I don't know if you, kind of. I've not worked with animals, but because I don't know if you know this. So you probably know that my undergraduate degree was in film studies. Well, then after that, when I was trying to decide what to do with my career, I guess when I was working in retail, I started doing an online course in zoology, and I was kind of planning for a while to become a zoologist, um, and then use my film. I had it all planned out, like to do my film, take my film degree, do the zoology course, and then go to South Africa and do this course that they have there that's separate. That's like animal documentary making course that they teach you in South Africa. Kind of, you go around the safari, like the national parks there, and they'll tell you how to construct a documentary style film based on the animals there, and you get to learn kind of like more about um, zoology and also about filmmaking. I was looking to combine the two and maybe get into that kind of filmmaking. Um, but obviously that never happened. I'm not the best person at following through on stuff. And now obviously my career is on a totally different tangent. I still love film, and I would totally still do some filming if I found any time. Obviously, I find it's time to do this, but actually crafting an idea, storyboarding, filming takes a long time and a lot of editing as well. So I'm not sure if I'll find time to do that anymore, but we'll see. Yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. We have that in common as well. Um, and you'll see, like, um, I tend to. I do go to other animal parks, but I tend to like to go to zoos that have a really good like breeding program and are clearly very interested in research and keeping animals um, safe and have a good breeding program and are really looking at the preservation of animals. So like London Zoo is really good at that, where you almost have no animals in there because they're always away somewhere on a breeding program, which actually is like people are. I'm disappointed I didn't see the pandas, whatever. But it's amazing that they're being bred and safely, and we're trying to avoid extinction of these wonderful creatures. So yes, I do love a zoo, and I especially love one where they have um, a dedicated preservation program, reservation, whatever, a program that keeps animals safe and alive and breeding. Um, yeah, I think Toronto Zoo is pretty good at that as well. So I've obviously never been because I've never been to Toronto, but absolutely going there when I come. So that day out's planned. Um, okay, so I have to say, I'm British and I'm not a fan of Russell Brand. Um, I think we have way funnier comedians than that in England, but I do think that we have a unique brand of comedy. Like, I don't think American comedy's bad. I love American comedy shows and some American stand-ups, but there's something about British comedy that's so sarcastic and sometimes so dark that other countries' comedians don't tend to go there. Um, so I kind of see why you like him. Um, And honestly, I can see why you find yourself funny. To other people on the outside, I'm going to be honest, you just seem like a weirdo. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine. Um, but I can see where you find yourself funny. But if you're funnier than me, I'm not sure. We'll have to see. We'll have to get a little audience and judge this properly, I think. um, so your proudest accomplishment. So I love to travel, and I have so many big travel plans. So I thought it was amazing that one of your proudest accomplishments was going to Egypt, because I think people take for granted a little bit. People that are able to travel a lot, I think, take for granted the fact that they can. And for some people, it's kind of like a lifelong goal, or a big goal at the end of a long journey to do something like that. And for me, I still want to go to Australia and Japan, maybe in the same trip, maybe separate, I don't know. But that for me is a big goal as well. And I know I'm nowhere near it yet, because they're very expensive, and I've not really found my footing yet, and I've not found any consistent way to save up money for that. But I know when I get there, it will be a massive sense of like, I can't believe I've actually made it, because it's not take for granted I'm going to go here, there, and everywhere for me. It's kind of a long build up, you know. At the moment, I'm just about saving enough money to go just across the water to Italy, France, Spain, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I love Europe as a beautiful continent, and every country is so different, which is what's amazing about it. But yes, when I get somewhere like Japan, I think it would be equivalent to the way you feel about Egypt, because it's just such a long, like, it's just a long process for me to get there, and I know that it might only happen once in my life. So I totally, totally understand that being a big achievement, and I fully support it. And I said to you after the last video that we are going to meet one day in Iceland, so you can do what you want to do in Iceland and reach that goal for yourself. And I want to see the Northern Lights, naturally, because in photographs they're always edited, they're always amplified, and you can't see pure light properly through a lens. It's impossible. Um, so I want to see that for myself and just be in somewhere so beautiful. Um, and really talking about beautiful is like how I feel when you were talking about where you want to live. So I call it Newfoundland. Obviously, we're going to say it different. The Canadian people in you will say it the way that it's supposed to be said, because you have the right accent and you know how to say it. But I think me and most English people say Newfoundland. Um, yeah, I have only seen pictures, obviously, because I've not been to Canada yet, and it just looks absolutely stunning. I am a big fan of like nature in its rawest form, and like nice landscapes, and just kind of feeling very at peace with what is around you. And I can see that Newfoundland has that experience. And I think that's such a wonderful atmosphere for like families to grow up in, for children to grow up in. Like, there are a lot of benefits to growing up in a city, and there is a lot that you can learn and a lot that you can earn and all the other stuff about growing up in a big city. But I think there's something so therapeutic about being around so much nature and really like learning to breathe and taking care of yourself and not get swept up in the rush and the harshness of a big city. So I mean, it sounds beautiful. And you said like you thought before about having an apartment in New York. I love New York, and I could totally agree with that. But then it takes me to one of my other goals. So when I was young, we went to Florida, and I have been lucky enough with my family to go to Florida a few times when I was younger. Um, because Disney World, because I grew up in the 90s, so Disney World was very like, that was almost like the pinnacle of family adventure there. And like, holidays have changed a lot even since then, and people do a lot more local things and a lot of things on their own continent. But the 90s was very much the era of let's go abroad and do this wonderful thing. And America, I think, was a very big destination for where everyone wanted to go in the 90s. Like, New York is still kind of like that, but Florida not as much as it used to be. But it has really strong memories for me, really fond memories of my childhood. And I would absolutely love to own a villa there. So, I could rent it out and whatever and make the money off of locals or other travelling families, but just have the opportunity. So when I had some time to go to um, Florida, I'd have somewhere to stay and somewhere to be that makes me feel like staying in a villa feels very Floridian to me. Like, I've stayed in hotels and I've stayed in villas over there, and there's something about the experience of Florida and America where a villa feels so perfect. Um, and obviously one day I would like to have children of my own, um, and so to be able to share my childhood experiences with them, and have that option there. Like, I could take them and go to a hotel, but it's just the idea of having a property somewhere else that you can escape to when you want to. It's a little bit further for me than New York is for you, but I don't think that would stop me. Um, yeah. So we have quite a lot in common, and I think it's been really interesting doing this. Yeah. I think that's all of the questions. Actually, you said I gave you 11, not 10, but I've only counted 10 here, so I now don't know if you left one out or not. But let me know. I will, of course, post Anna's original Q&A video down below. Um, and I don't know what is coming next, but this has been fun. It takes me a while to reply usually because I work quite a lot and I work late. But there we go. That's my response to Anna's Q&A video. And I'm sure that I will be back online very soon. Until then, guys, everyone take care, and I don't know, like, subscribe, leave a comment, whatever, and also check out Anna's page as well. Okay, bye.